Good afternoon. This is day two of the 13th Regulators and Policymakers Retreat here at Goa. IPAI is proud to introduce to you already a very well-known personality, Mr. Dinesh Trivedi, former Railway Minister. Welcome to the retreat, Mr. Trivedi.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, so we'd like to know, given the long innings that you've played, you were educated partly in the US, you came back to India, and you set up a very successful air freight company. And now that you're serving the people of India, in Parliament, etc., how has this entire transition been? From coming from private sector, coming from the US, and now serving the people of India. How has it been thus far for you?
No, I think it has been a tremendous learning process, and we live each day to learn. And I don't think so there could be anything better as far as I am concerned to be in public life and try to give back to the society what you have really gotten from the society. So I have had a great innings and I'm still having it. And I'm grateful to the people for that.
Right, sir. So, when you went into public life, did you see is there a dichotomy, between say private profit and the public good, and how do we strike that balance?
No, wherever, like Gandhiji said, uh, if the end is good, the means also has to be good. You cannot have one without the other. So both has to be noble and there cannot be a conflict. So within you, if your objective is, there is nothing wrong in making money. But at the same time, you can do both. You can serve the people, and as long as you are not shortchanging the people. So do whatever it takes you to make sure that people needs are fulfilled.
So when it comes to delivering public services, not just the railways, but even as we were discussing in the morning, electricity, which is our main subject, we see that it has become the tendency of governments to give a number of services below the cost value, which leads to the unsustainability of the sector. Now, how do we pull out of this practice?
See, I think every activity needs to be a profit unit. And as far as subsidy is concerned, I think the objective has to be to raise the bottom of the pyramid and make sure the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, they are in a position to afford. Don't just give them fish, just teach them how to do fishing. And that is what is required. Subsidy is okay to a certain level, like health, like education. In these two areas, I don't think so there is any kind of a compromise. But those people who are in a position to give charity, I guess they have to come in a large numbers like it happens in America. All these universities are funded by the private sector. And I think that model needs to be adopted, and at some point in time, the basic utility. For instance, America, they have got petroleum product. But if you go today, the price of gasoline is four plus dollars a gallon, which is almost same as what we have in India, where we have no gas at all in that sense of the word. So, what is the bottom line? The bottom line is raise the pyramid's affordability, and you have got to do a different kind of accounting. So if electricity must charge whatever is their cost plus, and if government has to give subsidy, then they have to give subsidy in a direct form. And that I think will happen once Aadhaar comes into being, where you directly credit the account. Otherwise, what is happening today? Today, a guy who's riding a Mercedes and a BMW, and I have no problem with that, he is paying the same price as the guy who really cannot afford electricity at all. So I think somewhere down the line, we have got to change the entire accounting system and the system of subsidies.
So we are suggesting targeted subsidies given to the poor directly, and it is entirely up to him as to what choice,
Yeah,
where he wants to spend.
I think first of all, we have got to make sure that we have to eradicate poverty. We cannot make virtue out of poverty. We have got to eradicate poverty. And that eradication only can come with education. And unless and until you have health and education, and that is a priority sector. But I'm afraid till time the planning commission sits down and changes its focus. Again, we were talking about village level. They have got to go down and make each and every village self-sufficient. And today, given the kind of expertise our farmers have, they are one of the best in the world. And I have just no doubt that they can really earn for themselves, just give freedom to farmers. Let them earn their living, and I can tell you they will be able to afford whatever cost plus the charges of electricity.
So in that case, why is it so difficult for politicians to reach out and ensure that after 60 years of independence and more, that we are unable to tackle poverty on a kind of scale that we'd like to?
I don't know whether we have the will, because once we are in Delhi, we are in a very comfortable zone. And once we are in comfortable zone, it becomes us versus them. So I guess the villagers are very innocent people. The kind of value-based and spiritual life they have, they don't get into too much of confrontation. And that is the reason why India is so peaceful. But we cannot take that and make them at a disadvantageous position. I can tell you, if we do not do something on an emergency basis as far as the power is concerned, I'm afraid we will not have irrigation, we will not have water for the agriculturists, we will not have enough food, and it's a whole lot cycle. So if you take the developed countries, they are self-sufficient in power. Today, unfortunately, we are not. And if you today think of a power generation station, it's going to take at least 5 years from the time you have conceptualized. And where is the fuel going to come for the power? So it's a vicious circle. Whether it is coal, whether it is hydro, whether we talked about the nuclear power, I guess we need to really put our heads together. Unfortunately, at this point in time, we are going at tangent. We need to come together. The experts in the power sector has to tell us what to do. We have got to see what the bottom of the pyramid is all about and then take a step. Given the caliber of India and Indians, I have no doubt that we can sort this out because the best of the guys from India are studying in the best of the universities.
So finally, sir, and I wanted to ask this of you. In your innings as a railway minister, one of the most powerful lobbies that came out in support of you and very vociferously was the railway union. And it's very rarely that it happens in the railway union will come out in favor of the railway minister. When you have such a mass support coming out in favor of certain reforms, why is it that the masses are unable to see I mean, the reform is unable to see the light of the day?
It's a very sensitive question, but I can only tell that at the end of the day, all these decisions are collective decision of the cabinet, and you cannot just pinpoint an individual. That itself shows that we are very close to being a banana republic, and that's not the way of doing it. I think Parliament should have debated the issue, but here issues are only debated based on party lines. So we cannot have a healthy democracy if issues are not debated and we just tag along on a party line. I'm not saying that the party lines are bad, but if you have got 700 plus members of parliament in both the houses, we must sort of tap their individual views, capacity, and thoughts.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.